Welcome back to the Relentless Runners podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Toni.
And we are your co-hosts, and we are the co-founders of Relentless Runners, which is an online run coaching group where we coach athletes one-on-one to run a variety of distances.
Woohoo! We're excited today because we are going to talk about everything that you need to know when it comes to finding the right running coach. Obviously, there are things that are important as the athlete that's exploring this avenue to keep in mind. And there's even things that we've learned, with working athletes over the years and being athletes ourselves and hiring running coaches ourselves over the years. So we're excited to talk about a few different things. But before we get into that, we're going to get into our Corral Chronicles.
Still obsessed.
I know.
All right. So,
Christine, you go first.
in good fashion, I'll just go first. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So, I had my first workout last week because
What
that was
was
last
it?
Wednesday, and we recorded the podcast on Tuesday. I had my first workout post hamstring strain on Wednesday, and it was amazing. I think I'm past all of this hamstring strain stuff now. I think I'm truly past it all. I don't remember what the workout was. It was something like, it was a ladder style workout. And I was like, I flew like way faster than what I was supposed to, but it was like, I remember I commented on it in VDOT after for my coach, and I was like, yeah, apparently I've lost all self-control because I just went too fast for like a lot. I don't know, just felt good. So it really wasn't about the pace. It was really just about opening up my legs and just kind of like getting the speed back under and just seeing how the hamstring felt. So I didn't have any pain or discomfort the entire time. I think the whole run total was like 5.5 miles. So like the volume was like right in that line where it was like, I've been consistently running without having any discomfort. So that was really good and really exciting and really promising. Full transparency, I actually skipped my long run this weekend for a couple reasons. First, Saturday was, if I have to explain myself, which I don't, but I will. Saturday was incredibly windy. Like, it was dangerous. Like, my husband did not even want me going outside. It was so windy. I wouldn't have been shocked if I saw like a freaking cow fly by my house. Garbage cans are flying across the yard, and I'm like, okay, there's gonna be and I'm running through town, so there's trees everywhere. I'm like, I'm gonna have a tree branch follow me if I go for a run. So I didn't. I was like, oh, I'll just do it Sunday. And then Sunday was really busy with like friend stuff, family stuff, and I was like, oh, you know what? It's just, I don't think I can get it in this weekend. And it happens. And honestly, I didn't even like bat an eye at it because I'm not in the middle of training for something right now. So I really don't care.
Nice thing. Fine. Yeah, when you're not training for something, that's the one thing that's nice is when those things come up, like you can always make it work even when you are in the midst of training, but you don't even think twice about it.
It just doesn't stress me out. I was just like,
and then you're like,
all right.
It doesn't. That's the nice thing about not having, being in the thick of it. But that's great.
Yeah. So then this week I did strides this morning, felt good. Tomorrow I have a workout. I think it's like 90-second intervals, I think.
Nice.
I don't know how many, 8 maybe. I can't remember. And then I think I'm going to be at like 28 miles for the week. And then next week I'll be up to 30. So we'll see. It's kind of awesome. That's the 30 miles a week is my sweet spot where I could go all year round at 30 miles a week with a double-digit long run and like a long speed workout midweek. Like that is such a good balance for me that it's not overwhelming, but I'm still gaining fitness and I'm still doing great work, but my body recovers every day. So I'm excited to like get back up to that point.
Yeah. I'm happy.
How about
for
you?
I'm glad that you're
running?
like you're there. Running
I'm there.
Good. Oh no, I was just saying I'm happy for you and I'm glad that you're there.
Oh, and then I think I'm going to graduate PT next week. So I went to PT this past Thursday and I was like, look, I'm not having any pain while I'm running, like nothing. And no pain, no tightness. I just did speed workout. Like that was like the day before. I've been doing strides. I'm like running for over an hour with nothing. Unless it's like a really, really cold morning, like I don't get any tightness. And I was like, I don't really know why I'm here right now kind of thing. So he's like, all right, well, he gave me like some harder exercises that he wants me doing like 2 to 3 times a week. And it's a lot of like single leg stuff, heavy like single leg RDLs, single leg
Mhm.
squats, that kind of stuff. And he wanted me coming back in 2
Yeah.
weeks. So I'm not going to PT at all this week. I go back next Thursday, and he's like, be prepared to be captain gowned and walk down the aisle here for your graduation ceremony. So I think I'll be done after that.
Oh, yay. Isn't it nice, like, when you've been in PT, because obviously it's a time constraint a little bit, and when
It
you have a week
is.
of not having it, it is so nice. You're like, "Oh, the world is my oyster again." I didn't go to PT last week because we just had such a busy week last week, and I was like, I just can't. Like, I just don't have time for it, and I'm
It
like,
is
"Oh,
time
this is so nice. I
consuming.
can't wait to
I
not."
know
It
this week I
is.
don't have it because it was Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, and I had to have my mom come because I couldn't bring Charlie there, and then it's a half an hour one way just to get there. So it's like, well, there goes like my entire like good section of my work, So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll be glad for it to be over. So how about you? How's your running?
Everything's been going well. I'm trying to think last week. Last week, I also had a workout. As you know, because I was texting you, I had to push it from Wednesday to Thursday. The weather was
Mhm.
just crap on Wednesday of last week. And it was kind of like windy, rainy. And I just, as of right now, I don't like to do workouts on the treadmill just because at my apartment gym, the treadmills aren't great. And I've done workouts on them before, and things just don't feel like good afterwards. So usually I'm a little bit more cautious. Like, I'll keep my runs on the treadmills here a little bit shorter. And the reason why I know it's those treadmills is because I have a treadmill, I have a NordTrack, but it's at my in-laws. And there's been times where I've like gone and done a run over there for whatever reason, and it's just so much nicer. So
Mhm.
I'm just a little bit more cautious. So I decided to push it because the weather on Thursday was going to be a bit better. But everything went well. It was like 3 minutes on, 1 minute off, and the 1 minute off was like an up tempo jog, which that type of stuff always scares me.
Yeah, those are
And I
hard.
think I said on last week's episode that I had told my coach that anything over 2 minutes right now when I'm starting up again, it makes me nervous just because I know it's going to feel hard. And she's like, I swear I had this plan before you had said that, but it was good. And anytime you do a workout like that, where the jog between is more up tempo, and those are more like wave style, like workouts or
Mhm.
whatever, but your legs can go like you're fine. It looks scary on paper, but it always feels better while you're doing the workout. So I did well. Pace wise, I was like happy with myself. And then things felt good. I had an 8.5 mile run on Sunday, which was like so crazy. So we were supposed to get snow on Sunday. And the weather's been so weird like this past week, but we were supposed to get snow on Sunday. And when I woke, I knew it, but it was just like small chance of snow and nothing crazy. So I woke up and I was like, okay, well, it was barely flurrying, like ever so slightly. You saw flurries. I'm like, sweet, it looks like we dodged it. And when I looked at the Weather Channel app, it looked like we weren't gonna see any snow until the afternoon. So I was like, sweet, I'm good. And I thought back to a workout I did a few weeks ago where it was 30 something degrees and the real feel was in the 20s, and I wore a second layer and a jacket, and I got hot and I had to hide my jacket because it was a
Oh,
speed workout.
yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to die if I wear this thing. So I saw the temperature was the same for Sunday. I'm like, okay, we're not going to wear the second layer and we're not going to get overheated and we're going to be fine. So I get out, I do my little video because I'm going to make a TikTok and a reel. And I'm like, oh my God, the weather's so perfect. And then I start my run and it's like great. I'm like, oh, and then the snow comes down a little bit more. I'm like, oh, no big deal. And then it was just this slow progression in the 8.5 miles where it was great. And then it got really windy and I was already like 2.5 miles away and I was doing an out and back. So I was like, F. And then it got worse. And then it got to a point where I was like, God, I wish I at least put a neck gaiter on because it was so windy. The snow
That's
was
the
pelting in my
worst.
face. And I was like, yeah. And I'm like holding up.
I
I took a
saw you
video because I
biting
was like, this is
it.
ridiculous. I have to show this. But I'm like holding because my neck was getting cold and I'm like holding up my shirt to like cover my neck because my neck is getting cold. I'm like, this is stupid, but like fun at the same time. I was having fun at the same time. And at one point I thought to myself, like, this is what type A fun is. And then the last mile and a half completely stopped, blue skies, cloud, like it's beautiful outside, sunny, everything is just starting to melt. I'm like, what is going on? So it was a very eventful 70-minute long run. I definitely had the zoomies that day, and I didn't even realize, like, I didn't even know it was happening until I felt good the first like couple miles, and then the zoomies were like happening. So I commented on the same thing with you, confessing to coach, and I was like, I'm sorry I had the zoomies today. Like I was just feeling so good and I couldn't help myself and everything. And she's like, that's okay. And she's like, Brooks gave you the zoomies. I'm like, yeah, we'll say that. But yeah, I felt really good. So that was like a fun one to have. And then she even said for my run, I can't remember because she published for the next few weeks, but it was like one of the long runs. She's like, it's okay if you have zoomies, but like make it a progression and don't go like hard. And I was like, okay. So it was a really good week. I think I did like, I think it was like 29 miles last week. And this week it's like 30 or 31 or something. So building up in small increments, but I'm actually really liking right now. Because when I'm in the thick of training for something, I usually have 2 workouts per week. And I've been having obviously like 1 workout a week at the moment. And it's been really nice because just when it comes to moving things around, there's just a lot less pressure. Like I just have to worry about this one and we can finagle the rest of the week as needed. And it's been really nice having more of just those chill, like long runs with getting back into it. So I'm just like having fun, which has been good. But yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, good.
For sure.
Cool. Well, I guess that wraps up this week's Corral Chronicles.
Let's talk about, yeah.
Sweet. So this week, we are going to talk to you guys about how to find a run coach and kind of a couple different facets of that. So we're going to kind of break it down into 4 sections. So first we want to talk about who the coach is. Then we're going to talk about what the coach offers. We're going to then talk about some red flags to look out for or some questions to ask the run coach that you are thinking of working with. And then the last one is going to be reasons not to hire a coach. So there's so much that kind of goes into it, and there's never one size fits all for an athlete and a coach. And there's going to be different personalities, different styles, different philosophies, theories on how they coach and things like that. So you want to kind of make sure that it's going to line up with you. So I'm going to start tackling the first one, which is about just who the coach is. So the first thing I would say to look at, which this may sound like an obvious one, but I'm going to say it anyways, is what type of coach you want should, for the most part, line up with you and your goals. And so let me elaborate a little bit because I know that sounds very self-explanatory, but if you are a trail runner and your goal for your big race, is to run like this big trail ultra, you may want to find a coach who specializes in trail. There is a big difference between trail running and road running. Obviously, there's a lot that lines up and that will work the same way, but say it's a very technical trail and there's a lot to work with elevation and the technical side of the run itself. It's going to be a little bit different, and not that a road running coach couldn't help you with those things. So it does depend a little bit on your goals, but if that is like you're all about trail, you may want to find a coach who knows their trail stuff. And just kind of like specialize in that. Same thing with say you want a triathlon coach. I've actually worked with a handful of triathletes where I just coach the running side of thing, but like I wouldn't go to a triathlon coach who, if I'm not doing a triathlon and I just want them to coach me for my running stuff, like I wouldn't do that. Because the way that is structured is very different than just, hey, I just want you to train me just for half marathon. Like I don't have all these other disciplines I need to worry about. So I know that sounds like a really obvious one. So I guess we can start with just the obvious one of like, find a coach who is in line with what you are trying to train for.
Yeah, I think it's good to say that just because I even think of when people reach out to us about coaching, sometimes they're wanting to prioritize both, or maybe they're just temporarily, like they may want to explore. I always think of the triathlon side of things. They may want to explore the triathlon. And like you said, we can only help, like at least me personally as a coach, I can only help so much. I will have to look up and like use other, like reach out to other coaches, and which I've done before with different things to just get advice like for this athlete if it's an area of coaching that I'm not familiar with. But people ask about that all the time, or they reach out and they think that just because we are in the running coach space that we know all of those different avenues, and that's not necessarily the case. And I even have an athlete that eventually wants to really dive in deep to triathlon coaching, and that's where if she gets to that point, that's where I'll help her like possibly find somebody else, just because it's not
Yeah.
something that I would be able to like really support her, and I want her to see success in that side of
Right.
training and stuff. So I think it's a good thing to bring up, even if it does feel obvious.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then to kind of like go along with that a little bit. So that's like the type of coach, right? And then we're looking at kind of like the type of person that coach is, or like what that experience, that background that coach has. So that leads me to my second point of, can you relate to your coach? Now, I think that this is a little double-sided. So I'm going to look at it the one side of like, can you relate to them? But then I have like another side to it. So the first is like, do you have anything in common with your coach? Are you able to relate to them, their life, their journey? Like, is there a connection there? And what I mean by that is, for example, I tend to attract a lot of moms who are runners because I'm a mom. I share my journey as a mom. They see the ways that I do or do not make things work as a mom. And so they want my expertise in that area. But that's just like the mom side of things. That's not even like the coach side of things, right? Like that's just like who I am as a person. They want to be able to like
Mm-hmm.
kind of pull into that type of experience that I have to offer. So they can relate to me in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
if maybe so I guess where I'm going with this is like, are you able to connect with them on a personal level, not just a okay, you're a great coach, you know what you're talking about. Okay, cool, that's awesome. But it's more to that. And we have talked about this before of like, you're not buying PRs when you work with a coach. You're not buying a like that outcome goal of your race or something like that, right? Like you are investing into a relationship, a like an ongoing give and take relationship. And you have to be able to connect with that person to really see all of the benefits that coaching has to offer, right? It's not just creating a training plan.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is something, then that could go on a red flag list of just dishing out training plans and promising outcomes or something like that. Like you need to be able to connect with your coach. So, you know, when you're looking into coaches, like, can you relate to them? Is what their journey in their life, in their experiences, or something that they've gone through, something that you can relate to that helps you feel connected to that person, because it will allow you to open up to your coach and to have that full transparency between the two of you. And it's going to help form that bond even more, which is then in return going to give you a better experience as an athlete. And it's going to help your coach be a better coach to you because those doors are open versus
Mm-hmm.
completely shut off because you
Yeah.
can't even connect with that person.
And to add to that, I think that it can be really hard to find out if it's almost like it is a relationship, though, if you guys are compatible.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's really important to hop on a call. I think that talking to someone, if you're unsure, sometimes people just they know and they're like, they know they want to work with you. They feel like they don't need to take that extra step to like unpack more to see if you would be a good fit. Like there are times where that happens and people are just ready to go. But if you feel unsure or you just really want to make sure, which I encourage everybody to do, honestly, if you really want to make sure that someone feels like a good fit, ask to get on a call. If you're speaking to the coach directly, ask to see if you can schedule a call to just talk to them, because even if you're familiar with like what they offer and the pricing and all that stuff, make sure that the vibe is there.
Yeah.
And then you can, and if it's a coaching group, it's the same thing. You can always, because even for us, like we have 10 coaches total like on team Relentless Runners, and so when somebody reaches out, you know, you can always ask whoever is doing the emails and stuff to see if you can get them in or get you in contact with the potential coach they think would be a good fit, so you could just hop on a call and just really make sure that that is there and it's
Yeah.
exactly what you're looking for from a personality perspective as well, because that
Yeah.
really is important.
It, yeah, it totally is.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about what the coach offers. So Something that really is also, I mean, it's all important to think about, but you want to think about what coaching experience you're looking for. So the first avenue of that can be communication. Like, what types of communication do you feel like you need? Do you want text communication? Are you looking for calls? Are there limitations from what the coaching or coaching group offers, whether it lines up with exactly what you're looking for or doesn't? And I think that, for us at Relentless Runners, we do have two different options because there are some athletes that really want to be able to have that opportunity to reach out to their coach like more frequently with like questions, touch bases about their workouts. Like that's really what that's for. And there are some like athletes who they want to have that touch base with their coach, but they feel like they don't need it quite as often. And so, but there still is that line of communication where they get that individualized attention. It's just more over email. And so coaches or coaching groups may offer one avenue or form of communication or another or a combination of things. So really think about like what it is that you need. The other thing is schedule adjustments. So, again, if you like, I think of if you're someone that I think of my athletes who are moms. I think of my athletes who have really demanding jobs and or rotating schedules because of work, like they're nurses, and so their schedule changes a lot. And they may need to have things adjusted and moved on the fly a little bit more frequently. And so that's where having the unlimited schedule adjustments can be really helpful. And again, I also want to acknowledge the athlete that they just check things off and maybe they have more limited things that can impact their training and so they feel like they don't necessarily need that as much. But again, if that's something that you need at all, even because there are plans out there, we don't offer that, but I know that there's groups or like you can purchase a plan where you get it and it is how it is and the coach itself will not do any form of adjustment. So think about if that's something that you feel good about. If you feel like you need support in just to make sure that when you are moving things, are you doing it the right way? Sometimes you may have that knowledge to be able to do so, and sometimes it can take the mental load off for someone else to be able to do that for you. The other thing too is knowing whether or not you want to have a coach that is virtual or in person. I know people who have worked with both and have had great experience. I've even worked with both. It's funny because I just heard from my very 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 first coach, and it was through a like running store. It was when I first got into running, and he did plans for the whole like group from this local running store. We were all training for the Pittsburgh Marathon, and we would meet up twice a week. So we would meet up during the week to do our speed workouts together, and then we would meet up on the weekends to do our long runs together. And that was like such a great experience, especially for me. Just being like surrounded from people, being immersed in the community was nice. Now I work with an online coach, and I like love like working with her online. And there's other ways that I can seek that community environment through like run groups and stuff or meeting up with friends. But I know some people, Christine, I even know that we've talked about athletes that maybe we've even worked with in the past. And it's like been a positive experience, but they felt that they just needed that in-person support, whether it was an accountability perspective or just again they need that like in-person community more than the online community. And again, there's no right or wrong. It's truly understanding and knowing what works or what you feel like you need and what's best going to support your journey. The last thing in terms of thinking about what a coach offers and if it's good for you is just other aspects of training that are included. So, do you also need something that is going to hit the strength pillar of training, the nutrition, the mindset? We did touch on community and team within person, but do you want that in or that virtual community and team as well? And it's not just siloed coaching. I know sometimes, for us, for our coaching group, we wanted to be able to for people to and athletes to come to us and be like, okay, if I ever want to explore these avenues, I know that they're there and they can leverage it. And there's stuff that we include in our coaching because we think it's important, one of them being strength training. But then we also have these other opportunities for athletes to be able to prioritize nutrition and mindset as well, in addition to the strength side of things. But again, like and we also have the community aspect where we have our athletes connect on Slack and we do team calls just because that's just something that we wanted. Again, there's no right or wrong with how a coach does things. It's something that excited us, was to bring those athletes together. And so if that's something that you feel like you want to like be able to connect with other like-minded athletes, or maybe, you live in an area where you don't have access to a community, but you would like to be able to like talk with fellow runners and stuff, just being mindful and asking those questions, is that something that you offer?
Yeah, those are all obviously really great things, and all things that we touch on in our programming and our offerings for Relentless Runners with, lots of communication and lots of adjustments. Everything we do is virtual. Nothing we do really is in person. But we have, exactly like Toni said, like there's been athletes who have been working with us, but then they find a local group that's doing all in person, and then they go to that because they want that community. We really do pride ourselves on the virtual community that we've built with our team. We have about 200 athletes on our team, and we all get together in Slack. And we have had athletes realize that they live in the same town as each other, and they would have never connected had they not been being connected through our team and through our community. We have different channels in there for our athletes to post their daily run, and they'll post a selfie or they'll post their whatever. And the other team members cheer that person on, or somebody will ask a question about, hey guys, what's your recommendation for XYZ? And the team pours into them. And so, which is, I think is huge. And it's not social media based. It's all off social media. So it's just a safe space for our runners to come together to talk about running and to encourage each other. And we pour our resources into them. And so it's something that I definitely pride ourselves on, of something that we've built and we'll continue to build and continue to build up that community. We do plan on doing, we do in-person like races. We try to go to some of the big races every year. Like we'll be in Boston next month. We went to New York City this year. We do Chicago. Kind of depends. We're going to be doing team retreats sometime soon in the near future. And so it's like, we're trying to like get more into that in-person stuff, but like the coaching itself is all virtual, which I absolutely love. I love virtual coaching. Like I love having my coach as an online coach too. So anyways, yeah, definitely just diving into like, what do you offer? What is it important to you for you personally? Not a knock on somebody who does offer those things or doesn't, but like as an individual, what's important to you? Does that coaching group offer that? And then just kind of breaking it down from there. But yeah, so the next category that we're going to go into is red flags to look out for, or perhaps questions that you can ask the coach. So like Toni said in the beginning, whether your communication as you are trying to find a coach is going back and forth via email, or if you're getting on an actual call with your potential coach, these are just some things to look out for, to listen for, to ask. So first thing that I would recommend asking or just kind of figure out is what the team or the coach's turnover rate is. So basically, how long are their athletes staying on for? And they may not have an actual number. Like, I don't even know we would have to figure it out, like what the actual like percentages is for like our turnover rate. But it's definitely, if somebody were to ask us, like, do you have a high turnover rate? Our athletes stay on year round. We have a high retention rate where our athletes stay with us, not just for an 18-week training cycle, but I have had athletes for years stay with me. That's not to say every athlete will be like that works with us. Like we'll have athletes who will work with us for maybe 6 months. We have a minimum of 6 months. They might just do the 6 months and then they part ways, and that's okay. It's not necessarily an indicator of the coach. It could be so many reasons, financial reasons. They just don't want to run again. Like there's so many different reasons. So when you look at that or you ask your coach that question, please know that if an athlete only stays with them for 3 months, it does not necessarily mean that it was the coach that was the problem, or that there was a problem at all. There's so many other reasons why somebody could part ways. But if you have a coach that has a high turnover rate, or you are seeing that athletes are only working with them for 3, 4, 5 months, and then that's it, and that's like the recurring theme, that could be a potential red flag, because that could be a sign that the athletes aren't enjoying their experience. They aren't really liking the coach or what they have to offer. They're not seeing value with what the coach is providing. So that's just a question to ask. It is one of the reasons why we have to continue bringing on new coaches to our team constantly, is because we get new athletes, but they stay, and then it fills up the benches of our coach, and we will cap off our coaches, which is actually going to lead me into the next point, because we believe in quality over quantity. So, that leads me to my next question. How many athletes is that coach coaching? Do they have a very large amount of athletes that they're coaching? And each coach is going to be very different with that number. Okay, Toni and I, we do this full time. So our number of the amount of athletes that we can handle with maintaining that quality of coaching is going to be greater than some of our other coaches on our team who have a full-time job, but they coach part-time. So that is going to look different. So just because someone only takes 10 athletes does not mean that the quality is going to be super high, because if they have a very demanding job somewhere else, like, it's going to make up that time difference versus somebody who, I have a number that I don't go over, even though I'm full time. I also have 3 kids and I run the business. And so I have a busy life. So I know the number that I can handle before my quality of coaching starts to fade. And so I don't necessarily want to like throw a number out there, because every coach is going to be different with the bandwidth that they have and what they can handle. But I think that the question you could ask is like, do you do this full time? Do you have a limit on like are you not working during all these different days? Like, what can you offer me with like that bandwidth that you have? If you are working a full-time job, I would flat out ask the coach like how many athletes they're coaching. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking them that. But it is something to kind of look at with a really high number of athletes that they're working with, where you can start to question the quality of coaching. Toni, do you have anything to add to that?
No, yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you were saying. And I think, again, asking the question of like, it's important to me to make sure that obviously I get good quality coaching, because this is going to be an investment for me. Do you think that if you were to bring me on, that would essentially happen? I think is like a good way that you could
Yeah.
phrase it. And it's so hard because I think that you and I have that like awareness of like, because we're business owners and coaches as well, but like we have that awareness of like what it feels like to work full time and be a coach, and the numbers of like what it feels like to do this like full time, like as a business owner, but like a full time coach. And so I agree. It's like, it's easy to like ask that number and do your little calculations, be like, okay, I think that this, like, I can kind of know what I would expect. But the other side of it too is, based on everything that they're offering, like ties to it too, is like if you're expected to get like the text communication, the like the unlimited contact and all this stuff, and they have like a high number, that's where you can just flat out ask them and just say, I just want to make sure that I'm getting like, the good like quality coaching. Do you think that you'll be able to like deliver that to me? Is a
Yeah.
really good way to go about
Yeah,
it. But yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And exactly, like that's why I don't want to like put a number like any coach who takes over 30 athletes is therefore declining in quality, because
Yeah.
that's not the case.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
could take 30 athletes
No.
and then there could be another coach who takes 10, and our work-life stress balance could be the exact same, and the quality could start to suffer when that person takes 10 and when I take 30. You know what I mean? So it's like they don't
Mhm.
eat, it's not comparing apples
Yep.
to apples. So that's why there isn't like any one number, but those are great questions to ask the way you worded it, Toni. So yeah. To go along with that, you can always ask for a reference from another athlete that they coach. I actually wish more people would do this. Every now and then, like I feel like this really doesn't
Mhm.
happen very often, but if you are like really, maybe you've worked with a coach in the past and you've had a bad experience, and so you've been a little hesitant to work with another coach, and you're just like, I don't know if I want to invest. Like we require 6 months that you need to work like a minimum of 6 months. Like that's an investment. And we understand that. That's why we stand by everything that we offer, because we truly believe in it. And we're really confident with what we give you guys. But I understand on the outside coming in, you're not sure, right? So I would ask for a reference from another athlete that they coach, because they're going to be able to show you like, yeah, this was what was promised. This is what I get. This is the way, like, I think that's a great thing to ask. Just, ask for a reference. And, we can gladly provide a handful of people who work with us who really stand by the team and their coach and things like that. So, and I think you're going to get like super honest answers that way. So that's one thing, one question that I ask. And then the last thing before I move on to the last section. So a question, or I guess not really a question, but more a red flag to look out for is, are they promising you results? Are they promising like, yeah, I can get you that BQ in the next 4 months? Right? Or like, oh yeah, if you go to them and say, hey, I would really love to BQ. I really would love to, improve my marathon time by 20 minutes. Can you get me there? Can you do this for me? Can you coach me there? And that coach is like, oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, I got you. That's a red flag. Now, there's a difference between having confidence in your coaching and confidence in being able, like, there's nothing wrong with me as a coach being like, yeah, I'm really confident that you will improve. I'm very confident that if we start to like tackle these different things when we look at our training program, like, this is going to happen. You will improve. You will get better. We can start to get in that direction. But an absolute, those are the things you need to be like, red flag. The absolute of saying, yes, you will BQ in 4 months. Yes, you will cut 20 minutes off your marathon in 3 months. Or like, those absolutes. Like there's a difference between like, yes, I'm very confident that we can go in this direction versus yes, you will run a sub 4-hour marathon at your next race. Like those are absolutes that be careful if they're promising you that, because there's no absolute, there's no guarantee, there's no like that's not how things work. So just, that shows me that they're more outcome driven versus process driven. And so being able to distinguish the difference between those is going to benefit you as an athlete.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a huge, huge red flag is the promising results. And I think that again, like Christine said, it's also good it's okay to say like, I see so much potential in you and like, I see this as being possible, but you're not saying like, not even, it's like, yes, that's possible. Or yes, I can see that happening in the near future, but the absolute thing is just the one that you want to veer from. So yeah, those are so, I keep saying that, but it is like, ooh, it's so good, but it's so good. But okay. So before we get in, we'll have a couple points after this next one too, but the last like main one is going to be reasons to not hire a coach. And I'm not saying I don't want to, I'm going to say some things and I don't want anyone listening to think like I'm attacking anyone or anything, but it's just, I want you to do some serious like self-reflection, just because this is an investment for you as the runner looking to bring someone on. This is also going to be time and energy for the coach. And when a coach is bringing on a new athlete, I want you to know that they're ready. They're like, usually they're in it for the long haul. Like they don't want this like quick thing, quick little cute date, and then that's it. Like they want to be able to like really work and really develop you. And so it's important to make sure that you're in a good place, you're serious about the idea of this before even reaching out. So I think of this as just like self-reflection time, things to think about before even reaching out. So the first one, a reason to not hire a coach, is if you're not willing to put your trust into someone else when it comes to your training. And so I know that this may be like hard to hear a little bit, but I think that, the whole purpose of why you're potentially hiring someone is because you want them to take the mental load off of your plate when it comes to your training and the thinking out of it. And that way, all you have to do is worry about showing up and getting it done. And so, sometimes if you find yourself as a person that you have a little bit of resistance, or maybe your coach has you, like if they have you doing something different. I think a very common example of an adjustment that an athlete can go under is taking their easy runs easier. Like it's a very simple one where it can be, really difficult. But if you're able to just really put your full trust in, it's super important. And that allows the coach to be able to apply their knowledge and their experience and education in order to support you even more. The next one is a reason to not hire coaches if you're not coachable or you're not receptive to feedback. Because to put it straight, there are going to be moments a good coach is going to give you feedback, whether it's, execution of a workout or again, keep your runs easier. Like there's a lot of different ways that you can receive feedback from a coach. But that in the communication should be, back and forth and everything as well. But again, just understanding that feedback is always coming from a good place. The coach wants you to see progress and be able to really develop and work towards your goals. And so that's why they give it. If a coach isn't giving feedback, or if it's very like surface level feedback, then that's also like kind of like a red flag if you're in the coaching like experience as well. The next one is if you're not looking to have any communication in your training, and I say this with a caveat because I understand that there are going to be coaches out there that may offer like writing you a training plan and that's it. So I'm not speaking to that, but I'm more speaking if you're looking to sign up to work with a coach that offers communication, whether it's email or communicating through the training platform that they're using, or there's texting. Communication is so important because from the coach's perspective, it's how they can best support you. It's how they can evolve your training. They need to know how you're feeling and how you're doing and how the training load is like feeling on your body and how things are working like mentally too when it comes to all these facets of life. And how the paces are feeling. There's so many levels I could go down under. But it's just really important that there is a back and forth and that the coach is hearing back from you so that way they can continue to progress your training. And so if you're someone that doesn't really, you just don't want that and you just want to have a plan to follow it, that's where I would find something like that instead of working, individually with a coach that offers a little bit more. Um, there's a couple more. So the next one is going to be your outcome focused instead of progress focused, or looking for instant results. And Christine kind of touched on this a little bit before from the coaching side of things, where if you notice the coach is just talking about like results and like, yes, I will get you to this like in the next 4 months. But it's the same thing for the athlete where, it's really important to be process focused. So I know for us at Relentless Runners, and I know a lot of the coaches that we're friends with that aren't a part of us, but they have their own groups in this space, they're the same way where they're in it for the long haul. And to put it straight blank, like you're not going to see success doesn't happen overnight. And so you can't have that expectation going into it that within 1 week, like everything is going to change and your fitness is going to bounce up tremendously. Like it takes time. And, a good coach is also going to let you know that, like if you're initially talking to them and you're sharing what your goals are and you're going back and forth on what's possible after sharing your history and everything as well. But understanding that progress and goals take time. And so it's just important to not like have that expectation of overnight success right away. So the other thing that's important to look into is that you're only looking for short-term support. So again, when you're looking at the different coaching groups or coaches and what they offer, some may offer short-term, like there's maybe some that offer like 3-month minimum, or there's no minimum, or like us, for example, like we ask for a 6-month minimum just because again, like we're more long-term mindset. We want to work with our athletes long-term and be a part of their journey long-term. And that's there again, there's no right or wrong. It's just what the coach is going to offer. But if you are someone that wants to sign up for like just to have a quick like 4 to 6 weeks to help with the remainder of your training, I really wouldn't suggest reaching out to a coach. Instead, I would look to try to like follow a plan, because again, a lot of people want to like it takes time and effort for the coach to get to know the athlete, and to get to know how their body responds to training and what works well and what types of workouts and things are helping them see progress. Like all that stuff takes time and it takes so much effort, especially in the initial getting someone like onboarded and set up. And so, going back to progress takes time. Like a coach, I think it's worth it for the coach and it's also worth it like for yourself. If you are looking for something like a short-term fill, reaching out and maybe trying to find something that's more of like a training plan basis or finding someone, I guess that, maybe offers like a minimum and they're okay with that. But a lot, you're going to see like a X amount a month minimum when it comes to the one-on-one coaching. The last reason to not hire a coach is going to be if you have financial constraints. So this obviously is an investment, and if you coaching is a luxury, it's not a necessity, and so I do feel like it's important to say that. And so if it's stretching you really thin to make it work, then I think that it's important to make that decision to maybe not right now. Maybe that's something that you're able to do long term, but looking into pricing and seeing what's doable is going to be really important for you. But again, if you're able to do it and you have the financial means, absolutely, that's amazing. But if it's a matter of like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make this work, then I would really hold off until you're at a place where it's not going to cause financial stress, because you just never want to do that to yourself. Where something that again isn't a necessity and it's more of a luxury is putting that stress on. It not only puts that stress on you in the financial department, but it then puts the stress like on your running and everything as well. Um, and to close it off or close it up, the last few other points that we're going to talk about is just general, closing statements about, what it looks like to work with a coach and things to keep in mind. So just because a person is fast doesn't mean that they know how to coach. A great runner does not always equal a great coach. So keep that in mind. Good things to keep in mind instead are, what has that coach helped their athletes achieve? Does it align with what you are looking to achieve? That's like, the main thing to like consider. And again, that's where having those conversations can be really important. But there are plenty of gifted, talented, speedy runners out there that are amazing coaches as well. So I want to make sure that I say that just because someone's fast, they can also be fast and a great coach. But you just don't want to make that assumption as well. The other thing too is, just because a person is slow or not as fast as you, it doesn't mean that they don't know how to coach. So I have so many athletes that are faster than me, and I've helped them work towards plenty of goals that are faster than me. I've helped people qualify for Boston. I've helped people qualify for New York City. And I think that, at the end of the day, and this is kind of speaking to coaches almost a little bit, because sometimes there can be imposter syndrome when, someone reaches out to you about coaching initially when you're new at it, and maybe they're faster than you, but you have to remember that a lot of times they may be faster than you, but they don't have the education and the knowledge about how to support and build someone up to accomplish, success and fitness and everything in their training. And so, I kind of low key get excited when I help athletes who are faster than me achieve goals that are faster than me. Cause again, it just is one of those things that shows that it's not about like what your PRs are as a coach. It's the knowledge and everything that's up here, and also the experience that you're giving the athlete that's helping them see success. The last thing I will say is, a certification is great, but it doesn't mean the coach knows everything, and that experience always trumps certification. So it's of course important to make sure that the coach has the understanding on how to build a plan, and they can get that from a certification. Yes, there's so many that are out there. Our coaches have a wide variety of certifications, but we also have coaches that don't have certifications, and they have tons of experience at the collegiate level of coaching individuals in track and cross country. And that experience in development and learning under other amazing coaches is like what they've learned to be able to support their athletes like in their growth. And so asking about the coach's experience, if you are, for example, reaching out about coaching, getting on a call with them. I've had plenty of athletes potential athletes ask me this of like, what's your experience look like when it comes to working with runners? Can be a really good thing to note. So we hope that this was so helpful for you all. And as always, if you ever have ideas that you want us to talk about, if you have follow-up questions about this topic, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. We are always happy to address it for you. But we cannot wait to see you next week. And thank you guys for being here today.